Get this dirty black kid away from my table before he steals something or gives us all some disease. Gregory Hamilton said it loud. 8:30 p.m. on a Friday in October, 52 degrees, the Sterling Oaks patio, string lights glowing, gas heaters fighting the chill, Hamilton in his $12,000 wheelchair, 7 dinner guests laughed nervously. Champagne glasses raised. Miles Underwood stood 3 feet away, 9 years old, homeless, barefoot, jacket torn from digging through their dumpster, black in a sea of white faces. "Sir, please, I can help your leg." "You?" Hamilton laughed. "How long would this miracle take, boy?" Miles's voice shook. "Seconds. The journal said seconds." Laughter exploded across the patio. Hamilton pulled out his checkbook, laughing so hard tears streamed down his face. "Perfect! Heal me for $1 million in your magical seconds, street rat. When you fail, police take you." Miles whispered, "Okay." 30 minutes earlier. 30 minutes. 8 o'clock p.m. Miles had followed the smell 6 blocks from Mile 34 overpass. Garlic butter, grilled ribeye, food from a different universe. October air bit at his bare feet, but 52 degrees wasn't cold enough to kill. Not yet. November would be different. The Sterling Oak sat like a mansion. Brick and ivy. Warm light spilling from every window. People who'd never been cold, never been hungry, never been invisible. Miles found the service entrance, the dumpster, and beside it, the recycling bin where someone had tossed reading material. 3 torn copies of the Journal of Emergency Medicine, July 2024 issue, coffee-stained, water-damaged, someone's discarded subscription. To Miles, they were gold. He smoothed the pages on the ground beside decorative shrubs that separated the dumpster area from the outdoor patio. 5 feet away, through gaps in foliage, he could see everything. 12 tables under string lights, gas heaters glowing orange. The kind that cost more than his mother's monthly salary when she'd had one, when she'd been alive. Miles found bread crust in the dumpster's top layer, ate it while reading by borrowed patio light. Article title, "Acute Sciatic Nerve Entrapment from Gluteal Spasm, Emergency Release Protocol." His eyes moved across the page once. That's all he needed. Photographic memory. Tested at age 6. "Extraordinary," the school counselor had said. That was before extraordinary stopped mattering. Before his mother died, and extraordinary became just another word for different. The text imprinted on his brain like a photograph. Perfect, permanent, complete. Acute piriformis or gluteal spasm causing sciatic compression presents as sudden onset lower extremity paralysis. Emergency release protocol. Identify trigger point 2 inches inferior to greater trochanter. Lateral approach, 45-degree angle. Sustained pressure 8 to 12 pounds. Duration 15 to 30 seconds. Muscle relaxation and nerve release is instantaneous. Miles whispered the protocol to himself, adding it to his internal library. 50 pages before this, 51 now, his entire medical education stored in a Ziploc bag and his unbreakable memory. On the patio, celebration exploded. The center table, 8 people, champagne bottles in silver ice buckets, Cristal, $1,200 per bottle. He'd found a wine menu last week. A man sat at the head in a wheelchair, custom carbon fiber, maybe mid-50s, tailored suit, expensive watch. He raised his glass. "To $200 million and the biggest land deal Philadelphia has seen in a decade," Crystal clinked. Laughter rolled like thunder. But Miles wasn't watching the celebration. He was watching the man, the way he shifted his weight every few minutes. Always left side, grimacing when he thought no one looked, reaching down to adjust his left leg like furniture that wouldn't stay in position. A younger man leaned in. "Mr. Hamilton, you sure you're okay?" "I'm fine, Brandon. Keep the champagne flowing." But he wasn't fine. Miles could see it in the micro-movements. Hamilton's left foot at an unnatural angle, the way he shifted position like clockwork. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, pressure building with nowhere to release. Miles looked at the journal page, at the anatomical diagram showing gluteal muscle wrapped around sciatic nerve, at the trigger point marked with an X, at the words instantaneous release. He looked back at Hamilton struggling through celebration. Miles's fingers found the hospital wristband in his pocket. His mother's, Temple University Hospital, patient ID, TUH 284091, Rebecca Underwood, age 31, dead 8 months, 2 weeks, 4 days because nobody had listened when she'd said, "Something's really wrong." He looked at Hamilton in pain. And Miles knew, with the certainty of 51 memorized pages and 8 months watching medicine through hospital windows, that something was about to go very wrong. He didn't know yet he'd be the one to fix it. Miles pulled the hospital wristband completely out of his pocket. Yellow plastic, scratched from being carried everywhere for 8 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. The text was fading, but he could still read every character. He'd memorized it anyway. Rebecca Underwood. D.O.B. March 15, 1994. Admitted August 13, 2025. Allergic to penicillin. His mother had been 31 years old when she died. 31. Young enough that she should have had decades left. Young enough that when she'd first said, "I think something's really wrong in that emergency room," they should have taken her seriously instead of telling her to wait, instead of processing people with insurance cards first. Instead of making her sit in that plastic chair for 6 hours while the infection in her body multiplied and spread. "Someone please listen," she'd said, over and over, getting weaker each time. "Please, I think something's really wrong." By hour 8, when they finally called her name, the infection was in her bloodstream, sepsis. The doctor had used that word like it was a surprise, like it was unpredictable, like there was nothing anyone could have done differently. But Miles had read about sepsis since then, found articles, memorized treatment protocols. $85 worth of antibiotics in hour 2 would have saved her life. $85. Less than 1 bottle of the champagne Hamilton's table was drinking. Miles had photographic memory, a gift, the school counselor had called it. She'd tested him at age 6, shown him complex images and paragraphs, and asked him to recall what he'd seen. Perfect recall, every single time. She'd called his mother in for a special meeting, used words like extraordinary and gifted and tremendous potential, talked about special programs and opportunities. "My brilliant boy," his mother had said on the walk home that day, "you're going to do such amazing things." That was 3 years ago, before medical bills from his grandmother's death had buried them, before his mother started working double shifts, before exhaustion weakened her immune system, before the world taught Miles that potential meant nothing without money. Now Miles lived under the Mile 34 overpass, 15-minute walk from this restaurant, 6 blocks from Temple University Hospital where his mother died and where he now spent evenings pressed against 4th-floor windows watching residents do rounds. Learning medicine the way his mother never received it. Through observation, through memorization, through desperate determination that nobody else would die unheard. He'd collected 51 pages of medical journals over 8 months, kept them in a Ziploc bag, organized by topic, every page memorized, every diagram traced in his mind. On the patio, everything changed. 8:15 p.m. Hamilton suddenly gasped, dropped his fork. It clattered against china. "Greg!" The woman in her 40s business suit half stood. "What's wrong?" Hamilton's left leg jerked, then locked, completely rigid. His face went white. His hands flew to his thigh, gripping, trying to move it. Nothing. The leg stayed frozen at an unnatural angle, foot rotated sharply inward. "I can't. My leg. I can't move it at all." Chaos erupted at the table. "Is it a stroke? Heart attack? Call 911. The older man already had his phone out. "Yes, emergency. The Sterling Oak Restaurant, Route 76. We need an ambulance. 58-year-old male, possible stroke. He's already in a wheelchair. His left leg just went completely paralyzed." He listened. His face fell. 18 minutes? 18 minutes. Miles watched from the shadows 5 feet away, watched Hamilton's leg locked rigid, the inward rotation of the foot, the muscle visible through expensive pants, hard as stone, exactly like the diagram he'd read 30 minutes ago. Not a stroke, not a heart attack, not permanent. Acute gluteal spasm compressing the sciatic nerve. Looks like dying, feels like the end, is actually fixable. In seconds, if you know where to press. Miles looked at the journal page, at the trigger point marked with an X, at the protocol. 15 to 30 seconds duration, release is instantaneous. He looked at Hamilton, sweating, gripping his leg, surrounded by 7 panicking people who had no idea what they were watching. He looked at the wristband. Talks 284091, Rebecca Underwood. "Someone please listen." Miles stood up. The shrubs rustled. Brandon noticed first. "Sir, there's someone." Miles stepped toward the patio, toward the wrought iron fence separating their world from his. 4 feet tall, bars wide enough that a 58-pound 9-year-old could slip through, toward the moment when everything would change. Miles stepped out of the shadows and walked directly toward the patio railing. His bare feet made no sound on the concrete. His torn jacket hung off shoulders that were too thin, too sharp, bones visible beneath skin. The patio was complete chaos. Hamilton gripping his leg with both hands, Victoria on her phone trying to get through to 911 again, Thomas Reed pacing back and forth, Richard Bolton standing with his phone held up recording everything. Brandon Mills, Hamilton's assistant, saw Miles first, did a visible double-take, a homeless child. Here, now, wrong in every way. "Sir!" Brandon's voice cut through the chaos. "Sir, there's a kid here. Security!" Hamilton's head snapped up. For a moment their eyes met. Millionaire and homeless child. Two people who should never have occupied the same space. Then Hamilton's face twisted, panic mixing with something uglier. That's when he said it. Not quietly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Get this dirty black kid away from my table before he steals something or gives us all some disease." The words hit like stones. The patio went silent except for jazz piano from speakers. 40 people at 12 tables all turning to stare, eyes categorizing, threat, problem, something to remove. Miles had heard worse. 8 months on the street taught you that, but it still hurt. He focused on Hamilton's leg, on the crisis happening while everyone was distracted by prejudice. "Sir, please, I can help your leg." "Help?" Hamilton laughed, not amused, cruel. "Boy, you can't even help yourself off the street. Look at you, you're filthy, you're nobody. What makes you think you can help me?" The word boy hung in the air. Everyone heard the weight of it. Security was coming. Miles could see the guard through the glass doors. Big man, uniform, maybe 6 seconds away. Miles didn't have time for politeness. Hamilton didn't have time for proper channels. "Your leg is paralyzed because of acute gluteal spasm," Miles said. Voice shaking, but words clear. Medical. "It's not permanent damage. Your muscle is crushing your sciatic nerve. That's why you can't move. But I can fix it." Hamilton stared. Then his expression shifted to something between amusement and contempt. He looked Miles up and down. Homeless black child, torn clothes, bare feet, nothing. "You?" He gestured broadly. "You're going to heal me?" Someone at a nearby table laughed. Nervous. Hamilton's smile was ugly. "Okay, boy, I'll play your game. How long would this miracle take?" Miles's voice shook harder. "Seconds. The journal said seconds. 15 to 30 seconds of pressure and the nerve releases. You'll be able to move again." The laughter exploded. Not just Hamilton's table. Other tables, too. The absurdity of it. A homeless child claiming he could heal a millionaire in seconds. Hamilton laughed so hard, tears streamed down his face. He pulled out his checkbook, slammed it on the white tablecloth hard enough to make silverware jump. "Perfect! This is perfect!" He was still laughing. "Okay, street rat. You want to play doctor? Fine. Heal me for $1 million in your magical seconds. Go ahead. Show us what a homeless little black boy knows that 3 doctors with medical degrees don't know." He leaned forward, smile vicious. "But here's the deal. When you fail, and you will fail because you're making this up, when you fail, security calls the police. They take you away. You spend tonight in juvenile detention instead of whatever bridge you sleep under. You'll have a record. Your life will get so much worse." His voice dropped, threatening. "So think very carefully, boy. Do you really want to try this?" Miles looked at Hamilton's leg, still locked. Rigid security guard now 4 seconds away, 40 people watching, phones out, recording. This would be everywhere in minutes. Viral humiliation or viral miracle. He thought about his mother, about "someone please listen," about $85. About 8 months, sleeping under a bridge while carrying medical knowledge that could save lives if anyone would just let him use it. Miles looked Hamilton in the eyes. "Yes, sir, I still want to try." The security guard's hand landed on Miles's shoulder. Heavy, final. "Okay, kid, you need to—" "Wait!" Hamilton held up a hand, still smiling. "Let him try. I want to watch him fail. I want everyone here to see what happens when people like him try to pretend they're people like us." He gestured grandly. "Go ahead, boy. You've got your seconds. Show me your miracle." Miles climbed through the railing. "Wait, hold on." Richard Bolton stood up, phone in hand like a weapon. Greg, this is insane. We're all witnesses. If this child hurts you, you could be seriously injured. We should wait for the ambulance. The ambulance is still 15 minutes out, Victoria said quietly. And Greg is in serious pain. Pain he'll be in regardless, Thomas interjected. Come on, Greg. He's 9 years old and homeless. How would he know anything about medical procedures? Let him talk. Hamilton's voice cut through, firm despite the pain. He was still smiling, but there was something else in his eyes. Desperation, maybe. Kid, how does a 9-year-old homeless boy know anything about emergency medical protocols? Miles reached slowly into his jacket. Everyone tensed. The security guard's grip tightened on his shoulder. Brandon's hand moved toward his phone. Miles pulled out the Ziploc bag. 51 pages of torn medical journals, water-stained, coffee-ringed, organized with paper clips. He held it up so everyone could see. This is what I've been learning from. 8 months, since my mom died. His voice small but growing steadier. I find journals in recycling bins, in donation boxes, in library trash, behind clinics and hospitals. This one, he pulled out the top pages, I found in your recycling bin 30 minutes ago. He showed them the article. The title visible, the diagram clear, professional, real. Acute sciatic nerve entrapment from gluteal spasm, emergency release protocol, Journal of Emergency Medicine. July 2024. It's all here. The symptoms, the diagnosis, the treatment, the exact procedure. Hamilton leaned forward despite the pain. You found that tonight? Just now? Yes, sir. I read it once, one time through. That's all I need. I have photographic memory. They tested me when I was 6 years old. I read something one time and it stays in my head forever. Every word, every picture, everything, forever. Richard scoffed loudly. Greg, come on, Miles interrupted. His voice didn't rise, but it cut clean. Quote, acute piriformis or gluteal spasm causing sciatic compression presents as sudden-onset lower extremity paralysis, often misdiagnosed as cerebrovascular accident or radiculopathy in emergency room settings. Emergency release protocol. Identified trigger point 2 inches inferior to greater trochanter. Use lateral approach at 45-degree angle. Apply sustained pressure 8 to 12 pounds per square inch. Maintain constant pressure duration 15 to 30 seconds. Muscle relaxation and nerve release is instantaneous upon successful decompression. End quote. Journal of Emergency Medicine, July 2024, Volume 57, Issue 1, page 234, authors Chen and Rodriguez. Absolute silence. Complete. Total. Miles lowered the page. I remember all of it. All 51 pages in this bag. Every word, every diagram, every protocol. I've been teaching myself medicine because... His voice finally cracked. Because when my mom was dying, nobody listened to her. And I'm never going to let that happen to anyone else if I can help it. Victoria's hand covered her mouth. Her eyes were wet. Hamilton stared at Miles, really looked at him for the first time. Not seeing homeless kid, seeing something else. What do you need me to do? He asked quietly. Stay in your wheelchair, don't move. Miles's voice steadier now, focused. When I press, it's going to hurt more before it gets better. Don't fight me. Don't tense up. Just count with me, okay? Hamilton nodded. Okay. I need to wash my hands first. James the waiter stepped forward. Hand washing station here. He turned on hot water, pumped soap into Miles's hands. Miles scrubbed, methodically, between every finger, under nails, up to wrists. 30 full seconds while everyone watched in silence. Rinsed, dried on his jacket. 8:48 p.m., 5 seconds passed. Miles walked back to Hamilton's wheelchair, knelt beside it. Even kneeling barely came up to armrest height. He looked impossibly small. 58 pounds to maybe 190, 9 to 58, homeless to millionaire. I'm going to find the exact spot first. Tell me if anything hurts. His hands, child-sized, rough from concrete, but surprisingly gentle, moved over Hamilton's hip area, palpating through expensive fabric, feeling for landmarks, greater trochanter, iliac crest, gluteal borders, moving with surprising precision. Right here. Miles's fingers stopped, pressed lightly. Hamilton flinched. Your muscle is extremely tight, like wood. The trigger point is... He adjusted. Here. Brandon had phone out. I'm documenting this, whatever happens. Good, Hamilton said, knuckles white on armrests. Kid, are you sure? Miles positioned both thumbs, 2 inches below hip bone, lateral side of gluteal muscle, exactly where the diagram showed. I'm sure about what I read. I'm sure about the anatomy. Voice got smaller. I've never actually done this before. Only practice finding landmarks on myself. Oh, God, Richard muttered. Do you want to wait? Victoria asked Hamilton gently. Hamilton looked at his leg, locked rigid, looked at Miles. 9 years old, scared but determined, homeless but brilliant. Everything the world said was worthless, offering to save him. No, we're not waiting. Miles, do it. Miles took a breath. When I press, everyone count, out loud. It helps track time, and... He looked up. I'm sorry if this hurts really badly. Just do it, kid. 8:48, 40 seconds. Miles pressed. Not gently. Full pressure, 8 pounds of force, maybe more. Using entire body weight, both thumbs driving into trigger point. 45-degree angle. Hamilton's gasp was sharp, immediate. Jesus Christ, that... Count 1, 1. Victoria's voice joined. Brandon's, Thomas's, Richard's, even nearby tables. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hamilton's breath came ragged. Sweat poured despite 52-degree air. Grip so tight, leather creaked, body rigid with pain. God, I can't. You can. Keep counting. 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. Miles could feel the muscle under his thumbs. Dense, solid, unyielding, like pressing hardwood. The nerve trapped underneath. Compressed. Screaming. His arms shaking from effort, but he didn't let up. The protocol said 15 to 30 seconds. He had to get there. 9, 10, 11. Victoria crying, didn't notice. Just counting and crying, mascara running. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Hamilton's breathing changed. Faster, shallower, face from white to red, veins on forehead. I can't, this is too much. Almost there. 15, 15. The patio held its breath. 40 people frozen. Watching a 9-year-old homeless child press thumbs into a millionaire's hip while everyone counted like countdown to something impossible. 16, 17. Miles felt it before he heard it. The density change, the muscle shifting, wood becoming something softer, something yielding, something letting go. 8! Pop! The sound was audible, clear, distinct, like cracking knuckles but deeper, fuller, a sound from inside the body that everyone heard. Hamilton's entire body jerked, spine arched, head thrown back, a sound ripped from his throat. Oh my God, oh! 8:48, 58 seconds, 18 seconds of pressure, exactly. Miles stepped back fast, thumbs leaving the point, whole body shaking from effort and adrenaline and fear and hope, nearly fell but caught himself. Hamilton's face transformed, agony to shock to wonder in 3 heartbeats. It's the pain! It's gone! Voice full of disbelief. It's completely gone! I can feel my leg again! Try to move it, Miles whispered. Hamilton stared at his left leg like it belonged to a stranger. Tentatively, scared it wouldn't work, he flexed his toes. They moved. All 5 responding, normal. He rotated his ankle, full range, no pain. He bent his knee, straightened it, bent it again. Normal, just normal. Like 33 minutes of paralysis never happened. The patio exploded, all at once, like a bomb detonating in reverse. People screaming, chairs scraping as everyone jumped up. Someone shouted, "Oh my God," over and over. Phones everywhere, 20, 30, 40 people recording from every angle. Miles stepped back, making himself small, trying to disappear, but Victoria grabbed him, pulled him into a hug so fierce it knocked air out. "You did it," she sobbed. "You actually did it." Hamilton gripped armrests, pushed, arms shaking. He rose, wobbly, uncertain, like a baby learning to walk. But rising, standing, weight on both legs, both working, both holding him. 8:49, 15 seconds. Gregory Hamilton stood for the first time in 6 weeks without pain. He took 1 step, cautious, then another, then another. 4 steps before he stopped, staring at his legs. He turned to Miles, saw him. "How old are you?" Voice cracked. 9. "You're 9 years old." Not a question. Complete disbelief. Voice broke. "You're 9 and you just, in 18 seconds you..." He dropped to his knees, now at Miles's height, eye to eye. Equal to equal, pulled him into a hug, fierce, desperate, sobbing openly. "You gave me my life back. 18 seconds. You're 9 years old and you gave me my life back." Brandon's hands shook, holding phone. "I got it all. Timestamp clearly visible. 8:48:40 to 8:48:58. 18 seconds exactly." Victoria held up her phone. I was recording too. Different angle. It's all here. Thomas pulled out watch. Stopwatch app, 18.2 seconds. I watched it and still don't believe it. Richard stood with mouth open, speechless for maybe the first time in his legal career. Other diners crowded closer, table assignments forgotten. Everyone wanted to witness, everyone with phones capturing this moment when an impossible thing happened, when a homeless black child healed a millionaire in 18 seconds. Hamilton held Miles at arm's length, hands on shoulders, looking at him like something sacred. What's your full name? Miles Underwood. Miles Underwood. Repeated like a prayer, like a vow. The name I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. He looked at guests, at crowd, at phones. Did you all see what this child just did? They nodded, speechless, stunned. Hamilton looked back at Miles. 18 seconds. I was in that wheelchair 6 weeks. 3 surgeons said permanent nerve damage, and you fixed it in 18 seconds with your thumbs in a journal article from my trash. He laughed. Not cruel, pure wonder. How? How did you know? Miles held up the journal page, crumpled but readable. It's all here, the diagram, the protocol. I just followed exactly what it said. Where did you learn to find anatomical landmarks? Hospital windows, Temple University Hospital, 4th floor, East Wing. I watch residents examine patients. I watch them palpate for landmarks. Then I practice on myself, feeling, remembering, learning. Hamilton stared, then laughed and cried at the same time, pulled Miles into another hug. And Miles stood there, small and confused and wondering if maybe, finally, someone had listened. Hamilton walked slowly back to his dinner table. Each step was careful, deliberate, testing, like he expected his legs to fail at any moment. But they didn't. They held, steady, strong, normal. He didn't sit in his wheelchair. He pulled out a regular chair, sat down, first time in 6 weeks. The wheelchair sat empty beside him like a monument to what had been, what was over, what Miles had ended. Hamilton pulled out his checkbook again, opened it, positioned it on white tablecloth, pulled out his pen, pay to the order of Miles Underwood. He wrote it slowly, deliberately. Amount, $1 million, $1 million. Blue ink, still wet, still impossible, still real. He held it out to Miles with both hands. You earned this, every penny, take it. Miles stared at the check but didn't move toward it. Didn't reach, didn't even blink, just stared. Brandon stood beside Hamilton, phone still recording. Miles, that's $1 million, $1 million actual dollars. That's a house, that's college, that's your entire future. You need to take it right now. Thomas Reed nodded vigorously. Kid, listen, that's life-changing money. You can get off the streets tonight. You can have food and shelter and safety. You can go to a real school, have a real life. Everything changes if you take that check, so please take it. Victoria knelt beside Miles again. Sweetheart, please. You don't have to sleep under a bridge anymore. You don't have to dig through dumpsters. You don't have to be cold or hungry or scared. You can have everything. Please take the check. Brandon's phone buzzed insistently. He glanced at the screen. Eyes went wide. Oh my God! The video I posted 7 minutes ago. 300,000 views already. No, wait. 500,000. It's going viral. Fast. Really fast. Around the patio, other guests started checking phones. Sudden murmurs. Excited whispers. It's on Twitter, trending worldwide. TikTok too, at least 20 different videos. Someone made a hashtag, 18-second miracle, trending nationally. It's on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. CNN just picked it up. Main page. A news van screeched into the parking lot. WPVI Action News 6, logo on the side. A woman in her 30s jumped out. Reporter's blazer, microphone with camera crew. Dana Wallace sprinted toward the patio in heels not designed for sprinting. Mr. Hamilton, Dana Wallace, Action News 6. Is it true? Did a 9-year-old homeless child just heal you in under 20 seconds? We're getting videos from multiple sources. Can you confirm? More people started gathering outside the patio fence. Other restaurant patrons, parking lot pedestrians, kitchen staff on breaks, everyone with phones, everyone wanting to witness, everyone wanting to be part of the moment, the story spreading in real time, geometric growth. One video becoming 10, becoming 100, becoming 1,000. Miles still hadn't moved, still staring at the check in Hamilton's outstretched hands. Miles. Hamilton's voice was gentle now, almost pleading, not the voice that had called him a street rat. Please take it. You saved my life. You deserve everything I can give you. Miles spoke so quietly that nearby conversations stopped completely to hear him. I didn't do it for money. Everything stopped. The patio, the growing crowd, the video recording. The universe itself seemed to pause. I did it because... Miles's voice stayed small but steady. When my mom was dying in the emergency room, she kept saying the same thing over and over. Someone please listen. Please, someone listen. She said it for 6 hours while they made her wait, and nobody listened. Not until it was too late. Not until she was already dying. Victoria's hand covered her mouth. Fresh tears. Dana's camera caught every word, zooming in on Miles's face, on the check, on the impossible distance between $1 million and a 9-year-old who didn't want it. You were in pain tonight, really bad pain. Everyone assumed stroke or permanent damage. Nobody looked for the real answer. They were going to make you wait 18 minutes in agony. I couldn't... He stopped. Started again. I couldn't watch someone suffer when I knew how to help. The patio was silent except for people crying. Hamilton lowered the check, his own face wet. Then what do you want, Miles? Tell me anything. Miles thought for a long moment. Long enough the crowd leaned in. Long enough Dana's microphone inched closer. I want to learn, he finally said. Real learning, in a real school, with real teachers and real textbooks that aren't from dumpsters. I want to become a real doctor, so nobody's mom ever has to die in a waiting room saying, someone please listen, while nobody listens. Hamilton's voice cracked completely. You're going to be the best doctor this city has ever seen, I promise you that. Miles looked at him. Does that mean you'll help me? Hamilton pulled out his phone. Kid, I'm going to do a lot more than help you. I'm going to change your life, starting right now. He started making calls, right there, while 3 million people watched online. Thomas Reed set down his wine glass with a decisive clink. If the kid's such a genius, let him look at my shoulder. 2 years of pain, 6 different doctors, over $18,000. Nobody can figure it out. Miles turned. What kind of pain? Constant ache. Sharp when I lift my arm, especially to the side. Wakes me up at night. Can barely reach behind my back. Thomas stood, rotated his shoulder with visible wince. 3 doctors said rotator cuff tear. 2 said arthritis. 1 said tendinitis. MRIs, X-rays, physical therapy, cortisone shots. Nothing helps. May I examine you? Thomas blinked. Looked at Hamilton. Back at Miles. Yeah, okay. Let's see what the 9-year-old finds. Miles walked to the sink, washed hands again. 30 seconds. Thorough. Professional. Dried them and approached Thomas. I need to ask questions first. Go ahead. Does it hurt when you lift your arm straight forward? Yes. Worse the higher I go. What about to the side? Yes, much worse. Can't get higher than shoulder level. Can you reach behind your back, like tucking in a shirt? Thomas tried. Hand barely made it to lower back. Not really. Maybe 6 inches. Used to reach my opposite shoulder blade easy. Does it hurt at night when not moving? Yes. Dull ache. Sometimes wakes me. Miles nodded. May I touch your shoulder? Check range of motion and feel muscles? Be my guest. Miles stood beside Thomas. Had to reach up. Thomas 6 feet, Miles barely 4. Lift your arms straight forward, high as you can. Stop when it hurts too much. Thomas lifted slowly. Made it to about 85 degrees before pain stopped him. Face creased. That's it. Now to the side. Thomas abducted his arm. Reached maybe 90 degrees before stopping with sharp breath. Same. Miles's hands moved over the shoulder. Gently. Precisely. Palpating over joint. Under collarbone. Around shoulder blade. Feeling for heat. For texture. For clues. Your subscapularis is very tight here. He pressed gently. Thomas flinched. And your subacromial space is inflamed. I can feel heat, probably fluid in the bursa. He stepped back. You have adhesive capsulitis with subacromial bursitis. Thomas stared. I have what? Frozen shoulder, but that's misleading. You have inflammation in your subacromial bursa, a fluid-filled sac cushioning the joint, and scar tissue in your joint capsule. That's why you can't move through full range. Victoria leaned forward. How do you know it's not rotator cuff tear? That's what 3 doctors said. Because Mr. Reed has pain but normal strength. Watch. Miles turned to Thomas. Push against my hand as hard as you can. He held up his small hand. Thomas pushed. The contrast almost comical, but Miles's point clear. Thomas's strength normal, despite pain. Rotator cuff tears cause weakness. When tendons torn, muscle can't generate normal force. Mr. Reed is strong. He just can't move through full range because inflammation and scar tissue block movement mechanically. Also, he gestured. His pain arc is between 60 and 120 degrees of abduction. Classic subacromial impingement. When you lift your arm in that range, inflamed bursa gets squeezed between bones. That's the sharp pain. Rotator cuff tears usually have different patterns. Richard was typing frantically on phone. Holy, he's right. Johns Hopkins Orthopedic Manual, word for word. He looked up. How are you doing this? Miles shrugged. Small, uncertain. I just remember what I read. The anatomy textbook I found 3 months ago had a whole chapter on shoulder pathology. I remember all of it. All of it? Richard repeated. All of it. Thomas stared. So what do I do? You don't need surgery. Surgery for frozen shoulder usually makes things worse. You need physical therapy, capsular stretching exercises, gentle progressive range of motion, prescription anti-inflammatory medication, maybe ultrasound-guided corticosteroid injection into the bursa by an orthopedic specialist. Most cases resolve with conservative treatment over 6 to 12 months. Thomas's mouth hung open. That's exactly what my 7th doctor told me last week, the specialist at Penn Medicine, after I'd spent $18,000 on 6 other doctors who got it wrong. $18,000? Miles repeated softly. 18,000. 6 months of appointments, and you diagnosed it in 90 seconds. A woman from nearby tables stood. Professional clothing, confident bearing. She walked over. Excuse me, I'm Dr. Patricia Moore, orthopedic surgeon at Temple University Hospital. I've been listening. She looked at Miles. May I see your journal pages? Miles handed over the Ziploc bag. Dr. Moore examined pages carefully, read the sciatic nerve article, studied diagrams, read about shoulder pathology, looked at Hamilton walking normally, at Thomas rotating his shoulder, back at Miles. These are legitimate peer-reviewed protocols, current Journal of Emergency Medicine, correct diagrams, accurate pathways. She crouched to Miles's level. And you just executed an emergency trigger point release I wouldn't trust to most first-year residents. Diagnosed adhesive capsulitis faster than I could with imaging. How long have you been studying medicine? 8 months, ma'am. Since my mom died. And how do you learn? I find journals in dumpsters and recycling. I read through hospital windows. Temple University Hospital, 4th floor, East Wing. I watch your residents do rounds at night, watch examinations, watch procedures. Then I remember everything. Forever. Dr. Moore's eyes widened. You're the window kid. Miles looked confused. Ma'am, for months, residents have mentioned seeing a child outside the 4th floor window, late at night, always watching. We thought someone should call social services. We had no idea you were teaching yourself medicine. I live 6 blocks away, under the overpass at mile 34. The hospital is warm and the lights are on and there's always something to learn. Dr. Moore stood, looked at Hamilton, expression intense. Mr. Hamilton, this mind cannot stay on the street. Cannot. I've been an orthopedic surgeon 15 years, taught at Temple 8. I've trained dozens of students and residents, and I have never encountered clinical intuition like this paired with photographic recall and self-taught anatomical knowledge. At 9 years old, this is once-in-a-generation brilliance. Hamilton nodded. Miles's street days are over as of tonight. Good. Because I want him in Temple's medical observation program starting tomorrow. Shadow residents, attend conferences, observe surgeries, learn officially. She looked at Miles. Would you like that? Miles's eyes went wide. Really? You'd let me? Really? Starting tomorrow. I more than agree, Hamilton said. Dr. Moore, whatever you need, paperwork, funding, clearances, you tell me. Dr. Moore extended her hand to Miles. Formal, respectful. He shook it. Small, rough hand and larger, professional one, and she smiled. Welcome to Temple University Hospital, Miles. Through the door instead of the window. Miles smiled. Real smile. First one anyone had seen all night. Thank you, he whispered. Hamilton tore the $1 million check in half. Just ripped it, clean through. Then tore it again. Quarters, then smaller. Let the pieces flutter to the white tablecloth like expensive confetti. Everyone stared in confusion. Money's not what you need, Hamilton said quietly. Money's easy. Money I have. What you need is a future, a real one, a permanent one that can't be taken away. 9:23 p.m. Hamilton pulled out his phone, put it on speaker so everyone could hear, dialed from memory. It rang twice. Andrew? Greg Hamilton. Sorry to call so late. No, I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. Listen, I'm enrolling a student at Friends Select Monday morning, 9 years old, Miles Underwood. Yes, I'm completely serious. This kid is a genius. Literal genius. Photographic memory. He just diagnosed conditions that stumped multiple doctors. He healed me when 3 surgeons said I'd never walk normally again. Monday morning, 8 a.m. I'll bring him personally. Full scholarship through graduation. Everything. Tuition. Books, uniforms, activities, everything. Thank you, Andrew. He hung up without waiting for more questions. Dialed again immediately. Sarah, it's Greg. I need Unit 8B at the Spruce Street building completely furnished by midnight tonight. Yes, tonight. I know it's late. I'll pay triple overtime. Everything. Full furniture for a 9-year-old boy. Bedroom, kitchen fully stocked. Clothes in multiple sizes. I don't know what size he wears. Make it a home, Sarah. Not just an apartment. A real home. Everything a kid needs. This kid's been sleeping under a bridge for 8 months. I want him to walk into something warm and safe. Bill me whatever it costs. Just get it done. You're amazing, Sarah. Thank you. He hung up. Dialed a third number. Jim. Greg Hamilton. I need you to draft an education trust first thing Monday morning. Drop everything else. Beneficiary. Miles Underwood. $2 million principal. Covering all education expenses through completion of medical school, including undergraduate medical school, residency support, living expenses, books, equipment, everything he might possibly need. Because I'm investing in the best mind I've ever encountered, and I want to make damn sure nothing, absolutely nothing, stands between him and becoming a doctor. I'll send details tomorrow. Just get the paperwork started. Thanks, Jim. He hung up. Looked at Miles, who stood frozen, completely overwhelmed. Victoria knelt beside him again, took his hands gently. Miles, sweetheart, do you understand what Mr. Hamilton just did? Miles shook his head slowly. Not really, ma'am. Victoria smiled through fresh tears. You're going to Friends Select School. That's one of the best private schools in Philadelphia. Maybe the best. You start Monday morning, and you have a home now. A real home. Apartment. Unit 8B on Spruce Street, just 2 blocks from here. Real furniture, real food, real clothes, real everything. Tonight. You're going to sleep in a real bed tonight. But, Miles's voice was tiny, confused. Why? You don't even know me. An hour ago you... He looked at Hamilton. An hour ago you wanted me arrested. Hamilton knelt down, eye level, equal to equal. You're right. An hour ago I was an idiot, a cruel idiot. I looked at you and saw all my prejudices, all the ugly things this world teaches people like me about people like you, and I was completely, utterly wrong. His voice cracked. You gave me my life back, Miles. In 18 seconds you did what nobody else could do, but that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because my father was exactly like you. What? My father, Martin Hamilton. He was a janitor at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. Night shift, midnight to 8 a.m. for 30 years. And every single night he'd read the medical journals doctors threw away. He'd watch procedures through windows. He'd ask doctors questions on smoke breaks. He taught himself medicine exactly the way you're teaching yourself, from trash and windows and pure, desperate determination. Hamilton's tears fell freely. But he never got his chance. Nobody saw him. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared that a janitor knew more medicine than some residents. He died at 53, still pushing that mop. Angry at a world that never saw him. I built my entire company swearing I'd never be helpless like he was. Then I ended up in that wheelchair tonight, helpless anyway. And you, a 9-year-old sleeping under a bridge, you saved me using the exact same methods my father used. He gripped Miles's shoulders gently. It's like he sent you, like the universe gave me a chance to do for you what nobody did for him. You getting the future he deserved, that's justice. That's what's right. Miles pulled out his mother's hospital wristband slowly. Yellow plastic, worn, fading. Can you help other people too? Not just me. People like my mom, people who can't afford to be listened to. Dr. Moore stepped forward before Hamilton could answer. I have a proposal. Mr. Hamilton, if you're funding Miles's education, why not fund a medical clinic as well? Temple University Hospital and Hamilton Properties working together. A free clinic specializing in rapid diagnosis protocols, using the kind of observation and emergency techniques Miles demonstrated tonight. Hamilton stood. How much for first-year operations? $500,000 would cover adequate staffing, space rental, basic supplies. Done. $500,000 from Hamilton Properties. Wire transfer Monday morning. Dr. Moore smiled. Temple will match with $250,000 plus volunteer medical staff from our residents. Victoria pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. I'm texting my board right now. Williams Development will donate $100,000 as seed funding. Hamilton looked at Miles. We'll name it after your mother. The Rebecca Underwood Memorial Clinic. Opening within a month. Location near Mile 34. Serving homeless and underserved populations. People who get overlooked. People like your mom. Miles held out the wristband with shaking hands. This was hers. Temple University Hospital. Patient TUH2 84091. She died there. In the waiting room, nobody listening. For 6 hours, nobody listened. He looked up at Hamilton, at Dr. Moore, at Victoria, at everyone watching. Now maybe someone else won't have to wait. Hamilton closed his hand around the wristband, pulled Miles into another hug, fierce, protective. The patio was silent except for the sound of 40 people crying. Strangers, witnesses, part of something bigger than themselves. Dana's news camera captured everything. Her live stream counter showing 5 million viewers, the story spreading across Philadelphia, across Pennsylvania, across America, across the world. A 9-year-old homeless boy, a millionaire in a wheelchair, 18 seconds that changed 2 lives and would ripple forward into thousands more. Miles looked up at Hamilton through his tears. Do I really get to go to school Monday? Really, truly? Really, truly, I promise. And sleep inside tonight? Unit 8B, you're home. For as long as you want it. Miles started crying. Finally. 8 months of holding everything together. 8 months of survival mode. 8 months of being invisible and hungry and cold and scared and alone. It all came out in huge, shuddering sobs that shook his small body. Hamilton held him through it. So did Victoria. So did Dr. Moore. Even Brandon and Thomas joined in, grown men crying over a 9-year-old's tears, because sometimes justice looks like a child finally getting to be a child. Sometimes it looks like someone finally listening. Sometimes it happens in 18 seconds and changes everything forever. 11:15 p.m. that same night. Miles Underwood stood in the doorway of Unit 8B on Spruce Street. He could barely process what he was seeing. 2-bedroom apartment, fully furnished, everything brand new, everything spotlessly clean, everything impossibly his. Living room with a comfortable couch still wrapped in protective plastic, television, lamps, coffee table, everything a home should have. Kitchen with a refrigerator absolutely full of actual food, fresh milk that hadn't expired, eggs, bread, fruit, vegetables, things he hadn't had in 8 months, things he'd forgotten were possible. Bedroom with clothes laid out on the bed in multiple sizes because nobody knew what would fit. Shirts, pants, socks, underwear, real shoes, everything new, everything clean. And the bed itself, a real bed, queen-sized, too big for one 9-year-old, with clean white sheets that smelled like laundry detergent, fresh pillows, a thick comforter, the kind of clean that doesn't exist on concrete, the kind of soft that doesn't exist under bridges. Miles placed his mother's hospital wristband on the nightstand beside a new lamp, yellow plastic against dark wood. Last piece of her in this first piece of his new life. He lay down fully clothed, shoes still on, afraid to get too comfortable, afraid if he relaxed this would all disappear, afraid he'd wake up under Mile 34 and this would be revealed as dream. But the pillow was soft, real soft, the blanket warm, real warm, the walls solid, the door locked, the heater working, everything real. Miles cried into that pillow for 2 hours. Happy tears mixed with grief, mixed with relief, mixed with tears he didn't have names for. 8 months of sleeping with one eye open. 8 months of cold and hunger and fear. Over. 3 months later, Miles walked through Friend Select's halls in a uniform that actually fit. Making friends, laughing, being 9, straight A's in every class. Teachers astonished daily by what he remembered, what he understood, what he could do. 6 months later, the Rebecca Underwood Memorial Clinic opened its doors on a cold February morning. Miles cut the ribbon standing between Hamilton and Dr. Moore, all 3 crying. The clinic's logo, a stopwatch showing 18 inches with the tagline, "Because seconds matter." They served 212 patients the first month, people who'd been overlooked, people who couldn't afford to be listened to, people like his mother finally getting care. 1 year later, Miles presented at Temple University Hospital's annual medical conference. 10 years old, youngest speaker in the hospital's 200-year history. Topic: Diagnostic errors in underserved populations. What traditional medicine misses when it stops listening. Hamilton sat in the front row, crying through the entire presentation. Standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes, but the most important thing happened every Saturday without fail. Miles returned to mile 34, to the overpass where he'd slept, where he'd been invisible. Now he came to teach. 23 kids sat in a circle around him every week. Homeless, housing insecure, overlooked, invisible to everyone except Miles, who saw them all. He taught them basic first aid, simple anatomy, medical terminology, how to observe, how to remember, how to think like doctors even when the world said they'd never become doctors. One kid, maybe 11, asked, "Miles, why do you come back here every week? You got out. You're safe now. Why help us?" Miles looked at the faces around him, saw himself in every single one. Because someone finally saw me when I was invisible. Someone finally listened when nobody else would. Now I see you, all of you, and I'm going to make sure the world sees you too. Another kid, maybe 8. "Can you really teach us to be doctors?" Miles smiled. "I can teach you to think like doctors, to observe what others miss, to remember what matters, to care when caring seems pointless. The rest, school, credentials, licenses, that's just paperwork. If I could get from under this bridge to Temple University Hospital, so can every single one of you. I promise." Later that year, Friends Select School created a new program, the Miles Underwood Scholarship for Exceptional Circumstances. Full ride for homeless or housing-insecure children demonstrating extraordinary aptitude despite impossible circumstances. 5 recipients per year, every year. Miles, at 10 years old, helped interview the first group of candidates, sat on the committee, had a vote, was treated as equal. One applicant was an 8-year-old girl teaching herself engineering from library computers, building solar-powered water purifiers for homeless camps using spare parts from electronics recycling. Miles asked her, "When do you want to start school?" She smiled, first time during the entire interview, and whispered, "Monday?" Miles smiled back, remembered that feeling. "Monday. I'll meet you at the front entrance. You're going to love it here." The echoes spreading. Forward, always forward. Some miracles take 18 seconds. The ripples last generations. If this story reminded you that brilliance has no address and genius wears no uniform, a like and subscribe help us share more moments that prove everyone deserves to be seen. Want more stories where the invisible become unforgettable? Stay with us. There are millions of Miles Underwoods waiting to be found.